Hello, Linnea from Lilybrook here. I am a licensed professional counselor who has a neurodiverse affirming practice at Lilybrook Counseling Services, and I wanted to share today some tips for preventing meltdowns with you. We've talked before in previous videos about what kind of what meltdowns are and what purpose they serve, which is basically just when somebody gets really overstimulated and can't necessarily control all of their emotions or feelings. And so some tips for preventing the meltdowns would be to listen to your body. If your body is feeling tense or it's feeling like overwhelmed, that might be a time to take a step back from whatever situation you're in if possible. Take a sensory break, which might mean feeling something soft, wrapping up in something tight, getting a weighted blanket, having different lighting or fidgeting items, and different things like that that you can use to kind of help regulate your body, creating a routine that works for you. So if you know that you need additional hours of sleep on some days to deal with some things, then going to bed a little bit earlier, making a meltdown plan for loved ones to use. You want to make sure that your support system knows what to do when you're having a meltdown. Sometimes it can be helpful to be talked to, and sometimes you just need to be left alone. And so that's what you need to do to help your loved ones know how to help you in that situation. With that same thing, learning your triggers. So if you know that something is really, going to the grocery store, for example, is really overstimulating right now, and it tends to cause a meltdown after you get back, maybe having somebody come with you, or maybe getting a grocery delivery service instead of actually going to the grocery store might be helpful. Creating a sensory toolbox with your favorite sensory items. I do this a lot with my clients. I have them think about all the different things that they could use, all the different textures of things, different fidget items, blankets. Sometimes pets are involved if they're willing, of course. All things like that that you can use to kind of help regulate your emotions and regulate your body. Taking regular sensory breaks. I think a lot of the time we think about, we talk a lot about self-care, but we don't necessarily understand what that means. Sometimes for people, that means that you need some time to spend with a soft blanket and low lighting and maybe reading a book, or maybe just lying quietly and thinking about things, or maybe lying quietly and not thinking about things if that's too much for you. Identify early warning signs. That would go with kind of learning your triggers and creating a plan for dealing with those triggers. Allowing yourself space around people, or maybe not around people, that you can unmask for. So that means you're not trying to be somebody that you're not. You're not trying to appear more neurotypical. You're trying to just be yourself. Using AAC devices, assisted communication devices, or written communication can be helpful. Sometimes finding the words is really uncomfortable. It's hard to get them out with talking, and so writing them down can sometimes be easier for people. Having the exit strategy. This might mean that maybe you have a code word with your family or friends that means, hey, I need to get out of here. I'm going to go take a break for 5 minutes. Come find me. Or, hey, we need to get out of here now. Those kinds of things can be helpful to help prevent it. Giving yourself time to do the thing that makes you happy, including stimming. So playing with a fidget toy, or coloring, or rocking. Any of those things can be useful in just helping regulate and de-escalate your body sensations. If noise is too much for you, use noise-canceling headphones. If the light is too much for you, use sunglasses, a sleep mask, go into a dark room, things like that. Deep pressure, like I said before, like a weighted blanket. They make weighted stuffed animals, which now can serve like two purposes. And then plan ahead for events so that you kind of know what it is, and that goes along with having an exit strategy as well. If you know what you're doing for that event, you know how maybe you can get out of it if it's too much for you, things like that. And then just reduce triggers as much as you can. Obviously, we can't avoid all of our triggers, but we can know ahead of time what we're looking at and kind of what we're doing. So these are some tips for helping prevent meltdowns. We will also have some tips for after a meltdown, and some things to say coming up in another video. So I hope this was helpful. Take some time today to make sure that you have your sensory break, and that you find something to do today that you enjoy. And I will see you tomorrow.